Anyway, so yes, welcome to not the 76 o'clock news episode something. I don't know if there's any actual news this week. I do not know if there is any actual news worthy of chatting about. I mean, I see lots of news. There's tons of news. A better way of putting it is news I would care about. Starfield is still not coming out in 2020. Oh my God, stop asking. Please, for the love of God, stop asking, said Pete Hines. And that's about it, really, isn't it? Cyberpunk is still due out, I believe. Messy is what we expect. Thank you. QuakeCon starts tomorrow. Any expectations? Right, now QuakeCon, is that become the Bethesda event? Minion. Miss Ali B. Thank you for the resub. See, it says new subscriber. See, that's not true, is it? You're a resub. See, I need to fix it. I definitely need to fix that. That needs a whole heap of fixing. Do you know one of the things? Growski cheered. Thank you very much. Choo choo, he said. You know, one of the things, though, is it's really hard to test resub messages or different variations because the testing thing only tests the basic thing. So it's a bit of a bummer, but, you know, I will attempt to get it fixed. I may actually do a fix it live stream at some point because sometimes it's just easier to be streaming while I play around with these things than to be sat doing it myself. I can actually just stream and chat with you guys and actually ask for feedback. That's not a terrible idea, actually. Still took you 5 minutes to remember how to do that. Well, thank you very much. So, yeah, so QuakeCon. It's an event to play games, not release new info, unfortunately. Is it? Right, so we're not going to get any new info. So, do I have any expectations for QuakeCon? I expect people will play games. There you go. Do I win? Do I win anything? I should win something because I think my expectations are likely to come true. Yes, I do. Tell you what, let's why don't we make you bigger? Huh? Should we make you bigger? I'm thinking we make you guys bigger. Do you feel big now? You should feel big now. I've embiggened you. Now I can't ensmallen you. There we go. A little bit ensmallened. Right. So big. Ooh, there we go. We got level 1 emotes. You all feel embiggened. Yeah. Right. So, trying not to make a rude joke. You're not really trying. You're just warming up and preparing for it. I've collected all the level 1 emotes. Yay! I'm a completionist, so... Actually, I am a completionist sometimes. Depends on the game. Depends on what I'm doing. So anyway, yeah, then... Apart from that, what news is there? We've got a severe lack of newsiness, as far as I know. I know there's been info dumps on Cyberpunk, which I've avoided because I don't want to know. Am I the only one that doesn't want to know every single solitary detail of how we can do absolutely every single solitary thing? Everyone makes these, and we found out that there will be 2 ways of running, and there are 127 weapons, and there are 5 shades for your car, and I'm like, no, don't tell me, let me find out, I want to know nothing. Figure it out. That's half the fun of games. That's one of the major advantages of modern games, in my opinion. This my like in the old days, in the good old days, right? You had to have a manual that came with the game, right? So you buy your game, and you'd be on your way home on the bus reading the manual. It would tell you which keys you had to press, because key rebinding wasn't a thing once upon a time. Just imagine, once upon a time, there were no angry rants from Gopher about key rebind fails because, well, there were no key rebinds and there was no internet. Actually, that might not be true. I don't know when the internet technically came around. The World Wide Web was when it all exploded, so it was like the early 90s maybe. Even then, I think it was more like that. Yeah, early to mid 90s, that started to go. But even then, you wouldn't have expected many. There was no YouTube sort of thing. That wasn't big. You know. But yeah, so they'd come with a manual that'd say, to do this, you do that. To do this, you do this. Do you want to crouch? You've got to do that. It would give you the full rundown on how you had to do everything. One of the things that's really improved with games nowadays is they managed to get over all of the information required to know what's going on, to know the story, or at least enough of the story to play, and the mechanics. Now, some of them are a bit more brutal. You know, the early 2000s, you had the sort of Vampire the Masquerade type tutorials that's so obviously a tutorial, it's just nasty, right? And then you've got these tutorials where you barely even notice it, right? I mean, in some ways, people called The Outer Worlds, they called Edgewater the tutorial stage, in spite of the fact that it was actually about a quarter of the game, really. It's one of the major planets. It's one of the major quest things. It was like about a quarter of the game. But they do introduce, you know, many things as you go along. They sort of drip feed you what you need to know when you need to know it. Same's true of Doom. You know, I mean, Doom was a bit too in-your-face tutorially. Basically, you know, you'd find a new gun and a big pop-up would come up and an animation. So actually, Doom's a terrible example. But most games now bring you into the game really, really well. So, yeah. I forgot what we were talking about. I have completely forgot where I started to... Oh, info dumps. So, like, now, I don't need information before I start playing a game. I don't really need to know much about Cyberpunk. I really don't. So, and the same is true of most of these games. Things I would like to know, you know, like, for example, if it's Starfield, how open world will it be? Will there be multiple races? Will there be multiple, you know, will the character system be open? But I don't need too many details. I'm sort of, what I'm getting at is I want to know, is it going to be Skyrim in space sort of thing? So I'm looking for very general things. That's what I want to know. So things with bloodlines, you know, I want to know that, for example, there is no Nosferatu clan in the second game, at least not at launch, just to prevent me from being disappointed. That will help me not be disappointed. But I don't need to know how the disciplines have changed, for example. I don't need to know the absolute details of that. I don't need to know too much about the actual quest structure. All I need to know is, does it still have a lot of dialogue? Is it still quite funny in places? Does it still have a little bit of a sense of humour, but also a bit of a dark side as well? You know, and does it have vampires? Beyond that, I'm sort of like, yeah, don't bombard me with details. Mostly because I like the idea of. I take it I missed Gopher admitting he hasn't read Neuromancer. You missed it because Gopher's never admitted that, because Gopher has in fact read Neuromancer. I've read a few. It's Gibson, isn't it? Isn't that the Gibson? William Gibson, I believe. Am I wrong? My memory is a little. It was about a hacker. I can't remember what they were called. I think he was called something like Case or something. And he had a solo friend who had the implants, didn't he? And she had the nails. I don't. Cowboys. That's what they were called, cowboys, right? I remember bits of it. I do remember it. Molly. Was it Molly, the solo who was with him? Yeah, see, I remember it. I don't remember a lot of it. I mean, you got to remember, guys, I read it probably like 30 years ago or something. Um, oh, are you saying like I would want to avoid books like that? Because no, here's the other thing, though. I don't need to avoid information about lore. I don't. You know, if someone brought out a the history of Night City up to the point where the game starts, I'd gladly watch that. Like history and lore and stuff. Try and remind myself of the stuff that went on, because I won't remember anything. I won't. I will not remember a damn thing. I played the tabletop game for Cyberpunk. I think about 7 or 8 times. But what we actually did is we played a merging of Cyberpunk and Space Master. So predominantly we were playing Space Master rules, but we incorporated a lot from Cyberpunk. So I don't think I picked up much of the lore of Cyberpunk.
Welcome, minion.
But yeah, but I do know a lot of it was influenced by you know, a lot of the old sci-fi stuff. So yeah, but that's different to knowing what's in the game specifics. You know, these data dumps. Java Mountain, thank you for the resub. So yeah, I mean, I don't need data like that. I need things that are slightly less spoilerific, maybe. Well, it can vary. But for example, things like The Evil Within, I'm not 100% sure that'd be a good mix for the channel. The thing is, for my main channel, I find games that I get into the character. I'm either right behind the character or I'm in the character's head, you know, first person. That works really well because I can get totally immersed and in character. Games like Divinity Original Sin, I do not think would be a good game to play on my main channel. But streaming, it was great. It's the same I was talking about Wasteland 2 with somebody the other day, and they were like, you know, I quit Wasteland 2 because it was too hard. And I'm like, didn't quit it. I actually finished it because the entire party died. They died, basically. I lost. My entire party died. But I was relieved for it to finish because I didn't think Wasteland 2 was a good mix for my live channel. It just didn't work with the way I play games on my live channel. But I actually think it would have worked okay on a live stream. I think it would have actually worked on a live stream quite well because instead of being the main character, I feel like when you're playing isometric games, you're controlling the main character. You're playing almost like, you know, a super being with an avatar that you're controlling. And it feels very different. And that's how it felt in Divinity Original Sin. So things like, you know, Wasteland, this Atom RPG, stuff like that might actually be a good mix for my channel. Red Dead Redemption 2. For live stream, I don't think so. Isn't that, I mean, I don't know. And the thing is I have a feeling Red Dead Redemption 2 is a very long game. I mean, surely that's a game that's more about getting immersed in character. I mean, really, should I be playing Red Dead Redemption 2 and chatting about snowboarding or something that's happening outside my door or, you know... I mean, is that what you... I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 to me seems like more of a really sort of just sink into the game kind of thing. Do you really want me to be taking it not very seriously? But also, it's probably too long as well. If it was isometric but still one character, you think you would have an easy time immersing? You might. I'm not totally sure I would. I'm not 100% sure I would. I might, but I'm not sure I would. Because it's the way I tell the story very often. I think first person's the absolute best way for me. You think of, like, Leonard. Leonard isn't how he looks. Leonard isn't even his outfit. Leonard is the way I move the camera. Oh, Snake Doctor. Red Dead Redemption is at least 100 hours, and you probably get even more out of it the way I play. Well, that's good. Right, but so, you know, I mean, and I'm not against long games, but if it's a long game that's not really a good fit for streaming, it just, you know. And I don't think that's a good option for streaming. Lamprolic. No, but it's not, though. I mean, Leonard is not how he looks. Leonard's character, like, there's like 2% of it comes across by his choice of outfit. 98% of Leonard's character comes through either what I say or how I move the mouse. It's something I realised when thinking of playing Barry with the controller again when I went to Nuka World. Yeah, exactly. You don't actually see Leonard for the vast. I make a point of occasionally going third person, so you can see him, you can see what he's wearing, you get a feel. Oh, he's wearing a hood now, or he's wearing a cloak, or it's raining, he's got his umbrella up, or just something. So you're just reminded. I do try to get in and out of it every now and again, but I tend to do it when I feel like there's almost like a natural break, or I'm about to start a conversation with Inigo. And that's just there for that sort of like little visual of him. But everything else we're inside Leonard's head. And I think that works better for me. It's better for me to get immersed in the character, and I think it's better for me to tell the story I want to tell or get across how I feel. Whereas isometric, I mean, there's no way to show emotion in an isometric game. There's nothing really. I mean, I can jiggle the mouse a bit. You can see the cursor jiggle. So, yeah. But for live streams, I think that's less of an issue. And I actually think that lack of immersion can help, because it means I get to talk to you guys a little bit. I can concentrate a bit more on the chat. I can be out of the game. If Gopher has a PS4. He doesn't. It would be awesome to see a Ghost of Tsushima stream or two. Again, isn't that more of a game for... I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a stream game. I don't know. I find... from what I've seen of that game looks like a brain off, mouth shut game, or mouth slightly open with drool come out game. That to me looks like... a Doom style game. Not exactly Doom, but what I mean is, if I played that game, I'd just sort of, be cranking up the difficulty and just going full on gaming zombie. Because isn't that an action game realistically? So when people say, do a let's play of Dark Souls, it's Witcher-like. What, has it got lots of dialogue? I've not seen that aspect of it. Has it got character build? It has some RP in it. Oh, okay. They've definitely not emphasised that, I can tell you that. Oh, I'm sure it's a good game. I'm not saying it's not a good game, but it's an action game. And I mean, like, I don't honestly... Here's the thing. Would my playthrough of Ghost of Tsushima be that different to yours? Because, for example, my Metro playthrough... not that popular, and probably for a reason. I mean, it's a fairly stereotypical standard playthrough of Metro, I'm guessing. The fact that I loved the game, probably, some people like to watch me play games that I love to play, but, Dear, oh dear. So anyway, basically, right, guys, the list of games I've got that I sort of want to play at some point on a stream is just, it's more than I could possibly... I can't add new ones to the list. I just can't add new ones to the list, so there's no point. I've heard the Mass Effect trilogy is getting a remaster. Does anyone know when? Am I going to do a Wasteland 3 stream when it comes out? Okay, I will be absolutely honest with you guys. I might, but that's because I was contacted by the devs, I think, or a PR firm for the devs. And they actually said, Would you do a paid promotion Wasteland 3 stream? And do you remember I always used to say to you, the only way I would ever do a paid promotion is if somebody contacted me and asked me to do something that I was perfectly willing to do for free, and that would never happen. It may have happened, so I don't know, but I still don't even know how I feel about that either. I don't even know how I feel about that. Thank you, Nikki D. I mean, really. I'd have to contact them and say I've not replied because I'm a little what? I'd have to be sort of saying, okay, but you can't tell me what to say. I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna say whatever I say and that's it. But I don't know, feel a little weird. So, but just left them hanging. Well, I only got the email a day or so ago. So, and I've got a backlog of emails anyway. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I love that Gopher actually cares about the ethics. It's less about the ethics and more about the I can't fake it. If I was better at faking enthusiasm for something, would I? And I probably still wouldn't do it. No, I can't just no. I don't think I would. I don't think I would. Nah. Depends how much money. We will pay you $1 million to do a stream and say this game is awesome. Done. Done. So very done. People will be the next stream going, you're such a shill. I'd be like, yep, you are damned right. But I'm a shill that's got a house now. Am I looking for some games to stream on Sundays? No. I've got a gazillion. I've got a gazillion options. So I'm trying to find out when the Mass Effect remaster comes out. Because I got to be honest with you, if the Mass Effect remaster does come out, there is a chance I'm going to end up Let's Playing that, in spite of the fact that I said I probably wasn't going to. I'd sort of like, I really want to do it, but I don't have the time to do it. But if they release a remaster of it, I'm so like, I'm going to need an excuse to play it again. And I'm not going to have time to play that and do a Let's Play of something else. So I'm like, oh my God. Yes, I was asked to promote Raid Shadow Legends about 1,000 times. 1,000 times. They offer pretty good money as well, believe it or not. I mean, I've saw a lot of people promoting Raid Shadow Legends, and I don't blame them. It's... I tell you what, being a shill definitely pays better than the advertising from YouTube. But like, I didn't reply to them, but I felt like replying to them half the time. I reply to them because you get like 1,000 of these emails. I get so many if I reply, and if you reply to them, they start trying to get the hooks into you. So, but I get a gazillion of these, and some of them seem quite suspect as well. But like Raid Shadow Legends sent me, I don't know. It probably is in excess of 100 letters. So. But I'm like, I don't play mobile games. I do not play mobile games. What possessed you to think I'd be a good match? Because they don't. They've got a list of bloody channels and they just bombard everyone. You know, I got asked to do VPN promotions for NordVPN back before it was popular. I was proud of that, actually. I got asked before all the big guys got. I don't know why. I'm wondering if NordVPN is actually a Nordic country. I don't know. But again, I'm like, all right. It looks like a good product. It's a product I would use. But I don't know anything about VPNs. Me saying, hey, guys, I think you should use NordVPN because it's super safe. I don't know it's super safe. I've read the label. I've read the box. It says it's super safe. Brilliant. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, so this is why I've always said I am probably never going to do paid promotions because there's never going to be anything that I really want to promote. But there's been a few things where people have said, would you review something? If we send you a free copy. And I'm like, yeah, half the time it fails to go through because then it turns out I've got to order it from such and such a place and have it shipped, or I've got to sign some weird legal document that's like 5 pages long, and I'm like, yeah, no, you can send me a product and I'll review it. But if I got to sign all this documentation here, then no, this looks weird. But I've never done a paid promotion for any products, even though I've been asked to do. I mean, do you remember the I did a review of some cable ties. I think they actually contacted me and said, how much would it cost to do paid promotions? And I said, I don't do paid promotions, but if you send me the product, I'll give it a try. I think it might have been them. That's what I usually do. And that's what I normally do. And I'm half tempted to do that with Wasteland 2 as well. As much as it would be nice to get money from them, I'm just not. I don't think I'm in the right headspace. It would have to be like an ironclad deal of, we'll give you the game, we will give you a check for X amount of money, and you can say what the hell you like. If we failed, you can scream about how badly we failed. And I suspect they're not going to do that. I might contact them and say, look, are there any strings attached, or can I say what I like about it? And if they say, well, you know, we're going to do it, then I'll say, just send me a free bloody copy and I'll play it, but I'll say what I want. Nord got hacked and isn't perfectly safe. Nothing is, to be honest. Well, to be honest, yeah, nothing is absolutely safe. But the thing is, I think you should be getting adverts like that from people like Linus Tech Tips, who can actually test it and then say, it's got a certain rating security, and he knows exactly what that means. Because there's no such thing as perfectly safe, obviously. But like, you know, he can give you the ins and outs on it. If they want to pay me for playing the game and I want to play it anyways, why not? No, absolutely. But again, it does very much. It's very much down to what the stipulations would be. I would rather play the game and be able to say what I like about it than get paid to play the game and be restricted. I just would. Because I can't fake it. And you guys are going to know it, and I'm going to do a terrible job, and I'm going to get a bad reputation for being a terrible shill. And I don't want a bad reputation for being a terrible shill, because I'm a GOG shill, and I want to have a reputation for being a good shill, which you'd never know, because I never ever shill very, very well. You should go to GOG to buy all your games through my link, because I get a cut of it. Although I haven't logged in and asked for a payment for forever, because I'm not a good shill. I don't use NordVPN either, so. But the one I use, I don't use because I know it's the best. It got good reviews from other people that I trust more than me. Bethesda owes me so much commission. I don't see it that way. I mean, I like to think that the modding community and YouTube in general has really helped Bethesda. I do. I think Bethesda have benefited from the modding community, and I think they've benefited from YouTube and its coverage of the modding community and their games like Skyrim. I think they've benefited massively. But having said that, I think the YouTube community, people like me, we've benefited from the sort of games they've made. I've obviously benefited from it. So I feel like it's more of a symbiotic relationship. They don't really owe me anything, but I don't feel like I owe them anything. I feel like, in a way, we kind of help each other. So modders made Bethesda. I wouldn't... Skyrim would not have survived this long. Oh, absolutely. The Bethesda games are relevant today because of the modding community. No argument. But in Bethesda's defense, the modding community exists because Bethesda embraced it. In a way. Bethesda released the original modding tools and sparked, well, a wave for their game. But more importantly, in my opinion, they make the sort of games that are almost uniquely moddable in the way we think of moddable. I mean, Half-Life is moddable. Counter-Strike is it may be a fully fledged game, but it's also a mod. There are plenty of big mods out there, and there are plenty of games that have got mods and they're moddable. There's something about the Bethesda games that it's a happy accident. It may be, but there's something about, say, Skyrim that makes it not just easy to mod. That's Bethesda. Bethesda made it easy to mod their games. They did. But they also made the game respond so well to modding. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that everything is so open and so not set in stone. And indeed, sometimes, I have to say, a big part of the reason modding is so good in their games is sometimes the very things that they get criticised for. The lack of, they got criticised quite a lot in things like Skyrim or even Oblivion and to some extent Morrowind for not having the sort of emotional, deep main story like, say, Mass Effect might have or other games that had these very, very almost cinematic quest experiences. And people would poke fun at them for that. But it was that sort of blank slate, you make whatever story you want kind of approach that Elder Scrolls had that lent itself so well to modding. Because of course it pretty much leaves it totally open and some modders can come along and really radically change things. You get Fallout 3, right, you could play as a super mutant. You could play as a super mutant, right? And there are moments it doesn't make sense. And it's always when the main quest kicks in, right? It's always when the main quest kicks in, it doesn't make sense. But luckily, it doesn't get in the way very often. And it's the same in a way with Skyrim. There may be moments where some mods will add some story that don't quite make sense with the main quest or cause the main quest to be a little, but it doesn't really get in the way that much. So they can go wild. And it's one of the reasons Fallout 4 suffered, in my opinion. The main bloody quest, it gates off so bloody much content that you kind of have to engage with it. So, yeah. I think overall, it's been a sort of a symbiotic feedback loop. They made a game that it had, let's just say it had a lack of, it's not even fair to say it had a lack of focus or specificity. It had no firm idea of what the main character had to be. That is it. It also had no firm idea of what you had to do in the game. Think of Oblivion, think of Morrowind, think of Skyrim. You do not have to play the same way twice. Whereas you look at Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, great game, but let's face it, every playthrough follows a very similar path. You might do a few different things, you might make a few different choices. The same is true of the Outer Worlds. Everyone praises the Outer Worlds. But there's pretty much a path you go through in the Outer Worlds. You look at Skyrim and you can get out of Helgen and the path you take could be bloody anything. And that's what they have in their games. This thing that just lets you leave the starting point and then make stuff up. Just go where you want to go. Do what you want to do. I'm going to do the Thieves Guild and I'm going to do the Assassin's Guild, and that's it. That's the playthrough I'm doing. Sod the main quest, or I'm going to be a wizard. And it's that. And yes, that sometimes makes it hard for them to tell this epic cinematic story. But it makes it a damn sight easier for you to tell your own story. So the game itself lends itself to replayability, which lends itself to modding, because on your next playthrough, you think, okay, this time I'm going to do a wizard playthrough, but you know what? I'm going to overhaul the magic, and I'm going to have loads of new wizard robes, and I'm going to have this and that. Snake Doctor. Thank you very much. If I look at Kingdom Come Deliverance, which now has modding tools, it's nowhere near the mod accessibility that Bethesda Games does. But exactly. And Kingdom Come Deliverance, you guys know my opinion on that game. Brilliant game. Loved that game. But there's only so much you could do with it, even if you had the perfect modding tools. Even if you could mod it as easily as Bethesda Game Studios games, it's harder because the game is about Henry, the blacksmith's son. And that's it. That's you know, without going into spoilers, I don't, right? But that's it. And there is a path through that game that you sort of have to follow. You can deviate a little bit here and there, but you're following the path. Bethesda they make a game where you can just do so many things. And that is amazing. And it makes you want to replay and then try new mods, and then the new mods add new ways to play. So it kind of there gets a feedback loop to the point where the modding community and their very moddable games emphasize each other's strengths. And so I think it's just a beautiful relationship, and I wish Bethesda understood that more than I believe they do, because I know they do understand the modding community is a boon to them, but I don't. Looking at Fallout 4 makes me wonder if they realised what it was about their games that was so, that made the hardcore fans just want to keep coming back time after time after time. Because it was the modding, but it wasn't just the modding. It isn't. It's not just the modding. Even without mods, every now and again, I'll get this urge and go, I just want to go back and play Morrowind and just do this and that and the other. And there's just, And if you want to play a game where you could just do everything as well, that's the other thing. You can have a game where you play very differently every single time and have like 50 different stories, but you could also have one playthrough where you do everything. You can do that if you really want. It's kind of hard to role play it, although people do, but usually I feel like they're shoehorning the role playing in. But hey, you can also do that. And if that's what you want to do for fun, if you want to become like the leader of every single faction in one character just to see if you can, it could take you a while. It'll be a long playthrough, but you could do it. It's that sort of game where you can just go nuts, and I love that. So, to be honest, Fallout 76 made you believe that they didn't really understand their fans. Okay. Fallout 76, the game, doesn't do that for me, because well, the way they marketed it makes me think they don't understand their fans. The fact that they thought they were going to be able to add modding to it at some future date showed me they really, really don't totally understand the modding community. That really worried me when I saw the game. I remember I made a video where I said, guys, I'm not convinced modding is going to be a thing, and a lot of people were like really down on me. I'm like, I just don't see modding being a big thing for this game. I'm not saying it's not gonna happen. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing, I'm not seeing the path to the same sort of modding you're used to at all. And of course, it's just not happened. And I just don't think it can happen. There are technical issues with it for a start. And a lot of it will come down to design choices, but yeah. So I don't honestly think they. Well, it's less about the game itself, though, where I think they don't understand their fans. I don't think they understood modding when they thought modding was going to be a thing, or at least when they said it. Either they misunderstood it, or they were basically being dishonest by saying they thought modding was going to come. But it's the way they marketed the game that made me think they didn't understand their fans. They seemed to think that a lot of their Fallout fans would be excited for Fallout 76, which I think was an epic mistake. I would have marketed that so differently. I would have undermarketed it. I would have undersold it. And I would have prepped people way in advance. Way in advance. But Fallout 4, to me, is more important to our community because it's a single-player open-world RPG, and there were way more danger signs there for things like Starfield. And a lot of the danger signs are the direction they're taking the game itself. A lot of people were focusing on the Creation Club and death of modding, Steam Workshop, the death of modding, and various other things, death of modding. And when the voice protagonist came out, everyone was like, "Oh, this sucks," but no one said the death of modding. But that's the sort of thing that twings the back of my head and goes, "Ooh, that's not a good sign for modding." So for some reason, I hear different things. The fact that the main quest was so integral to 90% of the content in Fallout 4, that's a big threat to modding. That's where my the hairs on the back of my head go like, "Ooh, warning." Who was that? Was that Manigin? Sorry about that, I would missed it. Yeah. To the death of modding, right? Yeah. So yeah. There's lots of little things in Fallout 4 where they seem to be trying to take the game in a direction that was untypical. Is that a word? Atypical for Bethesda Game Studios games. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Fallout 4 is the game Bethesda Game Studios made because they were embarrassed about making the sort of games that Bethesda Game Studios make. I don't think I worded it like that. I think I worded it, it's the Bethesda Game Studios game that's trying not to be a Bethesda Game Studios game. It's trying to address many of the very vocal criticisms they got from Skyrim and other games. If you think of all the criticisms, "Oh, this game is glitchy and buggy, they should make it perform better and have less crashes." They did. It should be more cinematic and have a main quest that's more like things like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. Well, they did. I'm not saying they came close to those games, but they did. They did all these things. They did all of these things that people, the vocal critics, were saying. And I've said it before. I think it's because a lot of the people that loved some of the other stuff weren't vocal about it, and myself included. I never came out and said, "Do you know what I love about Skyrim? The voiceless protagonist." Because I'd never thought about it. Anonymous gifter, thank you very much. I never thought about it. Bethesda has continually simplified and streamlined their games, which worries you the most. Nah, that doesn't worry me that much. It depends what they simplify. There are certain parts they've simplified that did worry me. The skill system in Fallout 4. That was an oversimplification. A lot of the stuff that people accuse of oversimplification, to me, are not necessarily oversimplifications. They're design choices that I can actually see the benefits to. So I've got a mixed batch, but I don't think oversimplification is the threat with Bethesda Game Studios. I think it's they're not focusing on. Oh, you're welcome, Eric Malkavian. The real danger with Bethesda Game Studios is them losing what made their games so damn special in the first place, which is exactly what I explained before. I've done an entire video series on this. I'm pretty much repeating the full video series of the Elder Scrolls formula, but it is It's that sort of game where you come out and you can play any character, any story, and then just go off and do different things. Fallout 4, it had this voice protagonist, which really, really made me feel like the same person each time. It had dialogue that was, let's face it, very, very lackluster and made you feel like you were saying the same things each bloody time. And you had to go through the same main quest to unlock all the content of the game, and so you felt like you were doing the same thing, except towards the end you pick a direction, which is so very, I don't know, Mass Effect type thing, yeah? It's so very Mass Effect. We get to the end, let's pick one of 3 endings. Very Deus Ex. It was like that. This is not what I want to see from Bethesda Game Studios. I want to see Bethesda Game Studios make those games where if you were to try and sketch a path that a person will take through their game, you couldn't. Because that is the thing. You go with Mass Effect, and I can plot a path of how someone will probably play. And I might have to do, say, 10 different paths as the most likely path. So, they'll go here, and they'll go here, and they'll go here, and they'll do this, and they'll go here, and they'll go here, right? And then, they'll go here, and they'll go here, and again. And you could probably end up predicting all of the different paths that 99% of the people take in like 20 paths. You could barely predict the path 20 people would take in Skyrim with 20 paths, because half the time someone would get halfway along a path, change their mind, start a new character, go down a completely different path. I mean, that's the beauty of their games. That is the beauty. And I want them to stick to that. I want them to allow us to just do something totally and utterly different each time. I want to have no structure on the playthrough, which is weird. I know that is weird, because some games they really benefit from having that structure. Mass Effect, The Witcher series, they had this overarching story, this main character, this backstory for the character, friends that the character had, and there was a sense, the story was following this great tale, and it was brilliant, and it was awesome, and I love The Witcher. But it's a completely different experience when I play an Elder Scrolls game. Completely different. And I want Bethesda to stick with that, because they're good at that. In spite of the criticisms they get, they're good at making games like Skyrim. They are. That's their speciality. You think by now, with the number of times that they've released Skyrim, they would understand Skyrim's where they should exist. Skyrim is their thing. It's their baby, right? Skyrim and Skyrim-esque games, yeah? That's where they should be. That's where they should live. That's where they were popular. That's where they were loved. That's where they became really successful. And that's why they're making money. I mean, you can say, they made a lot of money on Fallout 4 and probably making a bit of money on Fallout 76. But they're making it because of games like Skyrim and Oblivion. If Fallout 4 had been the first game they'd ever released, I don't think it would have been that popular. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I promised Quadico I was not going to go over, and I've already gone 5 minutes over. So, I am going to end it right here. Besides, let's face it, I'm just going around in circles. I could have just said to you for the last half an hour, go watch my Elder Scrolls Formula series. Because I've got a 10-part video series where I discuss why I love the Elder Scrolls, what made it so special. So go. Yeah, I did start late, but I've been recording now for 1 hour and 6 minutes, and nope. I lie. I've been recording for 1 hour and 11 minutes. So I think. Oh no, I've been streaming for 1 hour 6. I'm over. Thank you for joining me, guys. I will see you next week, and I will be streaming on Sunday. I just don't know what. Thank you for joining me. Please just tell Quadico I stopped at the hour exactly, okay? So I'm not in trouble. Yeah, thanks.